Hi, welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. On today's episode, I'm going to show you how I made this simple no-sew upcycled vintage book journal. I actually found this journal while I was shopping in an artsy district in Washington, D.C. this past week, and so I decided to turn it into my Washington, D.C. memory book. So I've started it because I don't know exactly what all is going in here. I do want to do a layout, but the rest I want to go in here. So I'm going to show you how I made it. I actually brought this travel journal with me when I went to DC. It had a pocket for things I didn't want to staple or get damaged. And I also had this extra little pamphlet that came with it. And I did some daily journaling and I had my kids write in it so I could have their writing and their memories. And then I made this little craft paper album so I could just easily staple everything from my trip in there so I wouldn't lose anything and I would have it a little more organized for when I got home. And I also bought some other really cute things just for my daily journaling in general, like that card. And so yeah, this was a really great way. I'm definitely going to take this travel journal whenever I go anywhere now because it was such a great way to keep everything together and have sort of a visual when I got home about what I wanted to use in my journals. As you can see, I have tons of pictures, so although I am going to do a layout in my personal journal, I have so many I knew that I would need to put them in an album of some sort. And these are some of the other books that I purchased. It was at a bookstore called Lost City Books. And none of these books cost more than $3. I absolutely fell in love with so many, but I knew I'd have to pack them and bring them back with me on the plane. So I just picked up a few. And the last one there that I'll pick up is the one I'm going to use to upcycle for today's project. This is a really simple DIY. All you need is a vintage book. So I can't wait to show you, and let's get started. So the first and most important thing you're going to need to complete this project is a vintage book. I am going to use the one I purchased in DC, and you're going to need a ruler. And you're going to put that ruler as you open up the book into the spine as close as you can and just start tearing out those pages. You're going to want to remove at least half of the pages from the book because you're going to want room to put your own pages and your own memories in. I kind of put it in a fast speed so you wouldn't have to watch me go do every single page. And that's about how many you want to take out. That's what you want it to look like so that your book can grow with your pictures and memories. That's all the pages I took out. I actually think I took out more than half, so just so you know, a good visual. So now that we've taken the pages out, you're going to need a glue stick or glue of any kind, some scissors. I'm actually going to use a paper cutter because y'all know I can't cut a straight line. And scraps of paper. I also have complete full pieces of cardstock scrap paper that you could really use anything. So once you have your supplies together, you're going to get your book and you're going to open it up and you're going to have all these little flaps inside from where you took the pages out. And so you're going to use one of your scrap pieces of paper, your cardstock, and you're going to measure it so that you can cut out a piece the same size as your book pages because you're going to be gluing those pages onto those little flaps into your book. So I just use my paper cutter. Don't throw away any of those scraps. You can use them for pockets and bookmarks. As you can see, this is cut exactly to the size of the pages in the books. I'm going to use my glue stick. I'm going to put a very good amount onto one of those flaps from where I removed the book page, and I'm just going to stick it on there. It's really that simple. So pretty much you're going to go through your book and add as many extra pages as you want. I use a bone folder to make sure it's on there really well. You're going to add pages where you remove pages, so it's more decorative and it's not just book pages in there. You can add washi tape. I love adding bright and funky pattern washi tapes because I feel like it really adds personality to this sort of journal. Because many of your pages are still just going to be book pages. So I feel like adding pops of color with washi tape really adds a really neat kind of personality to this book. So Sometimes I add washi tape and sometimes I don't. So you'll see once I do a flip through kind of what it looks like. And that extra flap I'm just going to glue right down onto the page next to it, so you can't really tell, because I don't intend to put a page there. So as you can see, it just opens right up onto that page. You could even put a piece of paper there, your cardstock, but I didn't. You can be as creative as you want. This is about the most simple journal you can make. Here's another piece that I'd already cut, and I'm going to show you how I just glue it right in there. I love this style of journal. I have to tell you, I think it was probably 2008 or something when I started wanting to junk journal, and I actually bought a book from Barnes & Noble called Altered Art for Dummies or something like that. I'm dead serious. I have it somewhere still. I need to find it so I can show you. And it actually showed this technique of how you just remove pages from a book and add your own pages. And so long ago when I made journals, this was kind of how I started out before I sewed in my own signatures of pages into the book. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just going to make a simple pocket to go into the book, because I have a lot of pictures, I have a lot of receipts, I have a lot of odds and ends from the trip that I would just like to go ahead and put in there to keep as memories. So this is just going to be a simple pocket. It was a piece of a scrap from a page I had made. And I'm just going to use the same technique that I use in a lot of my different layout process videos. You've seen me do it before. I use double stick tape. I put it on 3 sides and I stick it down. And it's that simple. And so now that you have that pocket on there, you can add a piece of washi tape into the center just to make sure that it's secure. And then you can glue that down the flap. You don't have to glue down the flap, but I think it makes the whole layout look a little bit nicer. So now what I need to do is go through all of my paper memories and decide what's going to go into this journal and what I'd like to save and put aside to go into the layout that I'm going to create for my personal journal. I'll also do a process video for the layout I create for my personal journal, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. So I have so many things. Like I save paper bags, I have receipts, I have price tags, I bought lots of different postcards. I love postcards. That particular card was from the Washington Monument, and I loved it because it looked kind of vintage. I have playing cards, I have photos. So there's a lot of different things. So I'm just kind of sorting through and making piles of what's going to stay, what's going to go into this journal. And then I also purchase things not for the layout or this journal. They're actually just things I want to use for future projects. Like this card, it was just super vintage and adorable. It's not for either journal, but so I need to take that out as well. So I have a few things that I'm going to use for pockets and such. You're going to see what I'll use them for now. And so that's where we're going to go. I'm going to use this card that I got at the Washington Monument. I think it'll make a great additional little opening kind of page. So I'm going to glue it down, and then later on when I open it up, I'm actually going to put a photo on either side of my kids in front of the Washington Monument. So I'm just going to glue it in. It's really simple. I put it right inside the spine, and then I'm going to use some really sticky thick washi tape to make sure that it really is nice and secure in that crease of the book. That washi tape is so sticky. I actually struggled for a minute, but it's on there, and now I know this page is not going anywhere because that washi tape is like holding on for dear life. So that's a really fun extra page. I wanted to make sure the book still closed well the way I put it in, and it did. I'm also going to use this Washington, D.C. postcard. I love it because it had all of those main sort of landmarks and monuments on the front. So I'm just going to again use one of those flaps from where I removed book pages, and I'm going to use double stick tape. I'm going to stick it right on the flap, and then I'm also just going to secure it with a little more washi tape. So now that large postcard is also an additional page, and I'll journal on the back or add a photo. So now I'm just kind of flipping through and looking at where I want to add another little pocket or a page, and I think I'm going to use this bag. It actually was the bag that Washington Monument card came in. I bought a few other things as well. It's just a paper bag from the Washington Monument, and I think what I'm going to do is measure it and cut it and create a pocket just to add some additional photos in, because I have so many photos. And so I'm just going to measure it the same way I did to create the cardstock pages. I'm going to trim it down, and then I'm going to use washi tape and some glue to stick it in using, again, one of those flaps from a removed page. So now that it's the perfect size, I'm just going to glue it right on there, and then I'm going to use some bright washi tape to kind of really make it pop. So it's a very simple way to create a pocket. I tend to really use a lot of washi tape because I just love it. I love the patterns. I think it adds a really fun touch to every journal, but you don't have to. Once you glue that onto the flap, it's on there pretty well. So, but I just like the way it looks. So now that it is nice and secure, I need to create the actual pocket. So I'm going to get my paper punch, and it's so dull it hardly cuts through things. I need a new paper punch, and I'm going to make just a little half circle using a full circle punch. It didn't cut clean at all, so I just kind of ripped it out, and then I trimmed it with my scissors. Works just fine. And that way you can kind of see whatever I put in there, the photos, you'll see them kind of poking out. And then I use this funky kind of 70s pattern washi tape to seal up the side of that pouch, and now I have a really cute little pocket. And just trim off the edges. This is such a simple technique you can use in any journal, and I really love it. I'll just add some photos in there. So now I have this card. I found it at the same bookstore that I purchased this book at, and the card is actually going to be for a different project. It's not for my layout or this book, but I'm going to use the plastic it came in. I've used this technique before. I save all those little plastic packages because they're always photo size. It's perfect. So all you need to do is stick double stick tape all over the perimeter, and I also put some on the inside, and then you just stick it right to the page, and you have a perfect little clear, usually 4x6 holder to put a picture in. So yeah, all you need is double stick tape, and you don't have to buy a thing. It's such a great way to upcycle and recycle and reuse and reduce trash. So always remember that. Save those little plastic card coverings, because now you're just going to put it on there. I haven't picked the picture I'm going to put inside it just yet, so I'll just show you with the card. See, isn't that perfect? I love it. I think I'm going to add more even. So the other thing I do with journals like this, because there are so many book pages still in there, is I white out about half of them using gesso. And gesso is just a sort of a primer, but if you use a very thin layer, it covers up the words on that page, but not so much that it looks white. And so you'll see what I mean. I do a very thin layer. You don't need very much, and that will dry. And so you'll still be able to see the words, but not really. And then you can stamp over it, you can write over it, you can glue things on it, but it doesn't read as a total book page. So see, you'll see there, it's all dry. And you can still see words, but really, as you can see, once I put that stamp on there, the stamp really stands out now. And that's what I love about using gesso. So I usually gesso about half of the pages that are left in the book. Now here's a part that got a little tricky. I wasn't necessarily going to show you. I use this product called Undo, but when it was difficult, I thought, you know what, I should show everyone just in case you all have the same problem when you are collecting vintage books and you want to remove something that's very difficult to remove. This product is called Undo. I bought it on Amazon. A little goes a long way, but as you can see, I'm using a lot. And what it does is it removes stickers. Now, this is a very old library book, very likely from the 50s, and they must have used rubber cement to put that old library pocket on there. Well, I don't know why they put the library pocket in the back. Library pockets are always in the front. So I wanted that library pocket in the front so I could use it to put something from my trip in. So I used Undo, and with a lot of patience and a lot of Undo, I was able to remove it intact. A little bit of residue was left, but I was totally fine with that. I know it looks like my pages are drenched and they're getting ruined. They're not. This will dry 100% clear, and all the ink that is on that library pouch will be there and will not smear. You'll see very soon. I then remove some of that extra residue. And yes, so the product is called Undo. I will try to link it in the comments below if I can remember. I got it on Amazon. So it came off clean. I glued it down in the front. Now I'm just sort of flipping through and deciding what else I'd like to do, what other little additions I'd like to make. And I'm going to try to do a couple other pages here just so you can see that now it really is just like sort of more of a traditional journal that I'm used to journaling in, kind of a junk journal or a magic memory book created journal. So I have this receipt from a big family dinner we had to celebrate my sister and her new husband, my new brother-in-law, Jesse. That was from the Irish pub we all had dinner at with my cousins and my kids and my sister, and it was just so much fun. Here's a picture of us. We were all wearing matching masks, and that said, "May the Malloys be with you," because that was sort of the theme of their wedding. I'm just going to staple it there right over the receipt, but the restaurant is still kind of poking out at the top. That's a coaster from the bar from the Irish pub, and now I'm just going to journal right onto that page that I had previously gessoed. And so that's a very simple way to remember one of our favorite nights there. It was a lot of fun. And now another favorite memory was that my daughter, if you follow Eliza Ryan Design, she had her original art tattooed onto her arm there in an artsy district in Washington, D.C. So that's a picture of her. That's a business card from where she got her tattoo. And now that's a gesso page right next to it. I'm just going to journal on it in a fun direction just to add a little character to the layout. And that layout is done. So it's just very fun to create in this type of journal. I'm going to show you how I add the ribbon that I use to hold the book together. I use this crocodile. It's very hard to find now. I do think they have them on Amazon, these smaller crocodiles. And you use one side to punch the hole into your book, and then you use the cover to add the eyelet. I mean, not the cover, the front of the crocodile to pinch it down and add the metal eyelet. So it's very simple. You can kind of see what I did there. And then I just add this ribbon into either side. I end up actually cutting that ribbon and just tying it into simple knots at the end of this video. But for now, you'll just see I just kind of wrap it around haphazardly. There's no rhyme or reason. And I just tie it in a simple bow because I think it looks kind of vintage and more like a traveler's journal, which was the look I was sort of going for. So I hope you enjoyed this super simple no-sew journal DIY. Mine is still a work in progress. I still have a lot to add and I can't wait to get started. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I'm always inspired by your feedback and your questions, and I love when we get to chat. So I hope you have a really great week. I'm super grateful for all of you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.